Well, here we are again. Floating somewhere between Earth and the never-ending void of space. Got a hell of a lot to talk about. So we better get right to it. Buckle up those seatbelts, space fans. Now, what you've been listening to for the last 15 minutes is in fact Hitler's favorite Wagner song, Tristan und Isolde. I felt it fitting in this moment as we elect a fascist dictator to power that we listen to one of the most famous dictators in history's favorite songs. I hope you've enjoyed. Oh no, the sound of my voice and the way I pause after every sentence is annoying as hell. Well, you can get the fuck out of my chat. Anyways, good to see you all. I'll say what's up to horizontal chat. Mo and Noah, what you can do. Donald James X. Geo Dragon. Styx Dragon Sharon. Soul Life. My Dogs Are Goth. Sky High. Shade Dragon. So many dragons in the chat today. Seems like dragons aren't getting much sleep tonight. Charlie Martini, Choki, and Latina Mafune. Well, I figured we'd start with this. Let's take a look at the goddamn electoral map. Who's still live? Looks like MSNBC still has a live stream. Yeah, let's go here. All right. Wait, let me get this to a spot where we can see the full map first. Yeah, perfect. Oh, and then it switches over. You piece of shit. Hold on. I am gonna play some other music in the background right now while we sit here. What should we fucking listen to? Jesus. Hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to get this up. Just trying to get us something else to listen to while we go through some of this shit because, good fucking God. There's so much to talk about with this. I mean, this is a landslide victory for Donald Trump. It is. There is no other way to put it. Okay. I really don't know what Democrats were thinking. In many ways, I think I've pointed out some of the things that should have been done but weren't over the last few months, ever since Kamala became the nominee. But this election here is an indictment, I think, of, not legally speaking, but of the way in which Democrats conducted themselves in this race. Spending over $1 billion, but refusing to do a number of things that would have been perhaps helpful. As you can see, they're giving Donald Trump 276 electoral votes right now because he just took Wisconsin. And in fact, I was planning on going live. I had a different plan, as I saw a road to victory still for Kamala, and at the moment when I was planning to go live, I noticed that, in fact, Kamala had lost the votes that I thought potentially could have brought this to what I thought may have been would have been a slightly more desirable tie, which there would have been a lot to talk about with that one as well. But as it comes down to it, as it came down to the wire there, I was met with Kamala not receiving enough votes in Wisconsin. The AP giving those 10 electoral votes over to Donald Trump. As you can see here, for the first time ever, Donald Trump actually winning the popular vote in the United States. What that says, well, we'll probably get into that over this time. But it is a shocking victory for some. To me, while I was still remaining optimistic, clearly, if you had been paying attention to any of my recent videos, I had some concerns myself. And you know what? I think, whoopsies, I meant to pause that. Alright, enough Wagner for now. I think we've made the point. Let's go here to, oh, what's this? The Galactic News Network, you say, from 12 days ago? Trump leading with 12 days to go. Well, let's see what's up with this video.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicaid.
You, the voters did that. And despite that some folks don't seem to care who you voted for, well, guess what? They're trying to push me out of the race. Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
On you. Ready? Move. Up. Move. Go.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. I got you.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold on. You're nice and close.
So we're gonna move to the front.
Watch out.
He always finds a way to win. And when he's back in our White House, America is gonna start winning again.
He's got a higher IQ than any man alive. He's gonna fix everything.
The price of food and gas and housing is out of control. And the only person who can clean this up is Donald Trump.
He'll fix the problems with all the dead crops. He's gonna make them grow again.
He's gonna win in November, and we're all gonna be champions again when he wins.
Give you my word. He's gonna fix the economy.
Let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
That's what I thought.
But I'll bet inside she was laughing last night when she saw the way Joe Biden left, because that was a coup. That was a coup. And I'm no fan of his at all. And it started with the debate, and from that point on, it just got worse and worse. But that was a coup. It was a vicious, violent overthrow of a president of the United States.
And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice way or we can do it the hard way.
How do you cast your vote?
We are here tonight to officially nominate Kamala Harris for president. Fire, get loud, another round of shots. DNC, turn out for what?
It's filled with energy and with joy.
The air of joy.
Joy. Joy. Joy.
We will be joyful warriors. The president of joy. Let us choose joy.
Oh, it was joyful.
Kamala Harris. It's a big baby. Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer.
People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. Not black. And I'll say that. And then I read that she was black.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. 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 They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
Again.
You talk about extreme.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
You talk about extreme.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
She hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech.
Again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past.
Keep walking!
Keep that low.
The devastation from Hurricane Helene is immense. Millions of Americans are without power. Thousands of families have lost their homes. Entire neighborhoods have been destroyed. Major roads have been blocked or damaged, leaving entire towns inaccessible at this very moment. I have shared with them that we will do everything in our power to help communities respond and recover. And I've shared with them that I plan to be on the ground as soon as possible.
The same stories that we all hear, that FEMA has done a very poor job. They spent a lot of money on bringing illegal migrants, people that came into our country illegally, and taking them in, and all of the money they've spent, numbers that nobody can even believe. So they don't have any money for the people that live here that got hit by one of the worst storms, possibly the worst storm ever, but one of the worst storms in the history of our country.
Find common ground. And Bill, that is why I believe in my soul and heart the American people are ready to turn the page.
And it's true. They're destroying the blood of our country. That's what they're doing. They're destroying our country. They don't like it when I said that. And I never read Mein Kampf. They said, oh, Hitler said that in a much different way. No, they're coming from all over the world, people all over the world. We have no idea. They could be healthy, they could be very unhealthy. They could bring in disease that's going to catch on in our country.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. We have the greatest military in the world, but you have to know how to use them. But I protect you against outside enemies. But you know, I always say, we have the outside enemy, so you can say China, you can say Russia, you can say Kim Jong-un, you can say, but that's not, it's going to be fun. If you have a smart president, no problem. It's the enemy from within, all the scum that we have to deal with that hate our country.
You and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people.
The kind of generals Hitler had. An 11th hour bombshell report from the Atlantic Jeffrey Goldberg, quoting Trump touting the loyalty of Hitler's generals and reporting that Trump complained about picking up the tab for a fallen U.S. soldier's funeral, calling her an effing Mexican. All right, well, let's start with Hitler's generals. Goldberg reporting that Trump asked Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, about claims that Trump once asked him, quote, why can't you be like the German generals? Do you mean the Kaiser's generals? Surely you cannot mean Hitler's generals. And he said, yeah, Hitler's generals. And the Atlantic goes on to cite then two more sources who were at the Trump White House. They claimed that they heard Trump say, quote, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had, people who were totally loyal to him that follow orders.
Yeah. Yep. Well, there is the race in a nutshell. Switched over slightly too soon, but I mean, this was the end of the video. We're clearly 12 days ago, Donald Trump. I had a map showing Donald Trump winning 281 to 257. I still thought, I thought he was going to win it differently, but I mean, he still, I mean, it's pretty clear, still took it down. It was almost an exact same electoral vote count. And I guess the question is, what did Democrats do wrong? What did Democrats do wrong in all of that, right? I mean, there's clearly a lot to unpack there. It's months and months of stuff to sort of go over, but I mean, it was clear 3 months ago, at least to some people, that Joe Biden wasn't fit to be president, that he was becoming more and more unpopular, and that he was probably going to lose the election, right? But it wasn't a big group of people. After the debate, the disastrous debate, which we all saw, you know, it became much more clear to the powers that be and sort of the general public just how bad he was. Just in terms of the ability to just get it done. You know, it was a complete departure from the previous debate performance that we had seen, right, in 2020. And he looked like a completely different person, and it was apparent to most people. And the fact is at that point, we pivoted. Democrats pivoted and said, you know, we're gonna go and pick someone else. And Kamala was the presumptive pick, essentially, because whoever's, I mean, we actually had talked about, the fact is, if you recall correctly, right around this time, we watched on Democracy Now, what's his name? Shit. He's like head of the oh, son of a bitch. Z. His name's got like a Z in it. I cannot think of it. Son of a bitch. But the point is, we saw a guest come on to Democracy Now, talk about the potential to do a snap primary in the Democratic Party. Did that happen? No, did not happen. I thought that was a missed opportunity at the time, but once it was decided Kamala was the presumptive nominee, I was done talking about it, right? I think, and most people were done talking about it once that happened. And was that the first mistake? Could be. It's not clear, right? Because the fact is Kamala at one point, like we just saw, had a large lead on Donald Trump, a near 4.5 point national lead on the aggregate polls on 538. I mean, there was multiple times we looked at those 538 polls during that video. I don't know if you're paying as close attention as I was. I did make it after all. But point is that she had like a dozen paths to victory. Like, nah, I'm exaggerating slightly, but she had a ton of paths electorally to victory from what the polls were looking like. Even pre-debate, after the debate, for the first week, I mean, she had an even larger boost, right? We saw that. We saw the debate performance. It actually boosted her, right? She did quite well. But Donald Trump said, you know what? I saw that he saw the numbers and said, I'm not going to do a second debate, which I think we know that definitely hurt. But what else did Democrats do there, right? Because there's a lot. There is a lot to unpack, right? I mean, there's a ton of money spent, but was it spent on the right stuff? Was it spent on getting the message to the right people, or was it spent on getting celebrity endorsements? You know, how much time was spent on honing a message for Kamala specifically? How much time and money was spent in trying to find a distinguishing message for Kamala, right? Because I think most people here were at enough streams to remember me saying that Kamala needed to find a way to distinguish herself from Joe Biden because of how unpopular he is. He's at 41% popularity rating right now. Right? So it's not, he's going out with a terrible popularity rating. The Democratic Party knew that because they took him out. They took him out of, well, they didn't take him out, but they vehemently asked Joe Biden to come to take himself out of the race, which he eventually acquiesced to, right? But once that happened, where there was a mental schism, right? There was some sort of like paradox in terms of understanding that, but not understanding that a pivot was necessary. You can't just, you know, like you can't just, because there was, it's not like they didn't even like condemn Joe Biden. The second that he dropped out of the race, it was all praise for Joe Biden, right? And I think that was a failed, in my estimation, it was a failed attempt to essentially hold together the Biden administration policies for the next 6 months, right? And to, or at least to like, you know, like not just the policies, but in terms of being able to keep some semblance of being able to continue to govern and to, you know, like it's just like we know it's a lame duck. We know that Republicans are doing pretty much everything they can to block any sort of legislation right now. So why was that the estimation made to not pivot? That's one of the biggest questions that I have about this whole fucking thing. Right now, hold on. Let's we're gonna keep talking about this shit, but I mean, I need to take a look at this. The state of where we're at right now. Who here is in the GSL Discord? This Biden. Oh my god, did the lead even get bigger? No, but it's just, oh my god, 5 million vote difference. This is the thing, right? This is the thing. And we're about to get to more stuff in a second on this, because this tells you so much. This picture tells you so much, right? So let's take a quick look at this. 2020. Let's quickly look at this. Oh, that's the wrong map. I don't want to look at the electoral vote count for 2020. I want to look at the fucking popular vote count, because this is the biggest. This is the biggest indictment of all. we are having. Is Mitty still here? Mitty. We're having, but it's not. It's even worse. It's even worse, right? So instead of having an incredibly low vote turnout and a win like the Labour Party got in the UK, well, in the United States, Democrats got the W. I mean, got the L, and also had the super low vote turnout, and it's just even bigger. Just such a terrible indictment. Why does Google so much worse now? There we go. Thank you. For fuck's sake. AI is making Google worse. Let's be real. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. This is insane. This is the biggest indictment I've ever seen. I want this zoom. What are you doing? Fuck it. All right, you can see it. 81 million votes for Joe Biden in 2020. Oh, there we go. Now you zoom in. Thanks. So yeah, 81 million to Donald Trump's 74 million, which was a huge number, but they're both huge fucking numbers. That's 155 5 million votes. But this level of low vote turnout, the fact is I don't know if you've ever looked at Democracy Matrix before, but America's about to slip further down the list in Democracy Matrix for this very election, right? Because of such a low vote turnout, this is an indictment of our own democracy. Because what we're looking at here, hold on, let's go back to her. Where was the vote count? Here, I'll go. There. Look at this. I mean, it looks like Donald Trump is going to win with less votes than he got last time, and Kamala is going to lose with nearly 20 million, not nearly, 16, what is that, 16 million? It's like 15.5 million votes. Less. So we're talking about a 20 million vote turnout difference. The people were just that disenfranchised. There's one reason that keeps popping up in my head as to why there is a huge difference in these. It's got to do with activists. This is unbelievable. I mean, it's shocking. And the fact is, you know, I was just saying to somebody else earlier in DMs on Discord, but you know, they're probably going, if the projections are correct, it looks like Republicans are going to have a majority in both the House and the Senate, having taken 2 seats in the Senate. And actually, I don't know the count that the House is at. The last I saw, I think they had flipped 7 in the House, maybe more. It might have been double digits. I honestly can't remember, because as you probably well know, at least those of you who subscribe to this channel, like, I fell asleep. I fell asleep after that break we took at whatever it was, like 8 p.m. Woke up to this goddamn mess at what? 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. No, it's not. No, MediDoctors was absolutely right. Trump did not have a good campaign. I mean, the last couple of weeks, it was like he was tanking it, saying some of the most atrocious things possible, and or having people around him do the same, and yet that still wasn't enough. And once again, I'm gonna go back to it. The reason I see as being the most relevant to all of this is the activists, is that Democrats completely ignored them. I mean, Joe Biden was already doing it during the race. There was literal quotes of him at commencement speech in, what was it, Philly? I can't remember where it was. But the point is there was like it might have been actually a couple of different quotes of him basically saying, "I don't care," to all of the activists on college campuses, and, you know, anybody who was pro-Palestinian. He straight up said, "I don't care," and there was a huge portion of the Democratic activist base is pro-Palestinian. From my estimation, from the people who I would see, not just in my life, my personal life, anecdotally, but also, you know, like out there, just in the world, like you saw it. The activist base was completely, essentially ignored, if not suppressed, and that's not even counting Muslims in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. And it's just, there are so many things to unpack in what I would deem a very unfortunate and, no other word to put it, blunderous campaign. That, I mean, unless I'm missing something here. Unless some crazy thing has happened here, I'm missing. Unless 20 million votes, you know, well, not that she needs 20 million votes to win, but like, you know, it's not like there's 20 more million votes to count, people. It's a lot less than that. Yeah, you make a good point. They're going to have Supreme Court too. They're going to have the Supreme Court too. My question is, what's next? Because the fact is even with Joe Biden as president, just recently, right? What happened? What happened? We had the Chevron doctrine overturned. We had presidential accountability just dissolved. No longer, presidents are no longer accountable. What else? We have being poor is now criminal, right? Being a human but not rich enough, not rich enough, but just not having enough money to afford a place to live, that makes you a criminal. Abortion now gone and a crime in many states. And you know, like, I feel like I'm missing a couple, actually. But the point is with all that as is for now, and Project 2025, which we've talked about ad nauseum over the last year, both bodies, Supreme Court, executive. I mean, what's left is flashes of the fucking Handmaid's Tale is what's left, okay? Not to give people nightmares. If you haven't seen it, I would do some research. Woof. Hold on, I'm going back to my desk real quick here. Just, wow. Should put time delay on short stream. Is it overrun? Yeesh. Here, I guess I'll play on some other music. That's too. That music is giving me a. Here. Fucking hell. This is the first one.
And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. Just as I did in my first term, we had a great first term, a great first term.
I'm actually considering switching the entire Galactic soundtrack to Wagner only from now on, just in preparation, you know, for what is most certainly coming.
We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again. And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try. We have to try.
Oh shit, the stream is
It's
glitching.
going to happen. Success will bring
I
us
see
together.
exactly what this person is saying. You're right. Please hold.
When we became more and more successful, people started coming together. Success is going to
I think I
bring
know
us
what I can do to
together,
fix
and
this.
We are going to start by all putting America first. We have to put our
Bounce
country
on
first
this.
for at least a period of time. We have to fix it.
Close that.
Because together we can truly make America great again for all Americans. So I want to just tell you what a great honor this is. I want to thank you. I will not let you down. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before.
Hopefully that fixes the
God
lag.
bless you,
Fingers
and
crossed.
God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So as you heard there, Donald Trump is speaking about unifying Americans, overcoming the political divides that may be deeper and wider after his presidential campaign. And this election, one thing we didn't hear from him, the campaign pledge to crack down on illegal migrants and the vow to launch a roundup of millions of people on the first day of his presidency. Trump's language much softer in the early morning hours, saying that he wants people to come to the United States, but adding they must do that legally. That victory speech was from the stage of the Convention Center in West Palm Beach very early this morning. Tom Perry was there. He's been covering the Trump campaign with me again live this hour. So as you listened to Donald Trump's speech and you saw him surrounded by all of his supporters, family and otherwise, Tom, what really stood out to you?
Well, you know, Donald Trump yesterday, when he went to cast his ballot near his home at Mar-a-Lago, he spoke to reporters and he said that he didn't have a speech written, a speech planned for if he won, and he didn't even want to think about what would happen if he lost. So his speech last night did seem to be one of those weaves that Donald Trump does, where he goes from subject to subject to subject, just kind of a stream of consciousness. And so you heard Donald Trump talking about his great political comeback, about how MAGA is this multifaceted movement now, one of the greatest movements America's ever seen. But he also went off on these tangents. He talked for a while about Elon Musk's rockets. Elon Musk, the tech billionaire, the guy who owns X, formerly Twitter, who's been backing Donald Trump on his platform and also with money. He was talking about Elon Musk and the need for America to protect its super geniuses. He went on as well about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the noted vaccine skeptic, who Trump was a supporter of Donald Trump and who Trump says is going to make America healthy again. So this was a speech that was, shall we say, wide-ranging.
He said it all.
Said all of that. There was some talk of unity and you know, bringing the country together, because this is a deeply divided country. I'm just going to play you a little piece of Donald Trump's speech just to give you an idea of some of what he was saying last night at this rally.
I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping.
Why will this program not quit?
Make America
I have force
safe,
quit
strong,
you now,
prosperous, powerful, and free again.
3 times.
And I'm asking every citizen
How
all
dare you.
across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite.
So that was Donald Trump in the wee hours of this morning telling people it's time to unite. But I think the divisions in this country are running pretty deep after this election. And I guess we'll have to wait and see if Donald Trump is going to be the kind of president who's going to bridge that divide in this what will be his second term.
Thank you very much. Listen, just before you go, I just am getting now, we're getting some live pictures from Mar-a-Lago, where, of course, he would have gone back, his home there in South Florida. Live pictures of Mar-a-Lago. We can see the security around his residence where he watched the election returns. Do we know, Tom, does he have any events scheduled for today or any speeches or anything on his agenda that's public knowledge yet?
I have not seen anything official saying that Donald Trump is going to come out today and say anything. It was a very late night for all of us last night, so I would imagine Donald Trump might be trying to get some rest today. Will he come out? Hey, it's Donald Trump. He's unpredictable. Maybe he will come out today, and if he does, we'll be listening to hear what he has to say, whether he's going to say any more about his plans for his presidency, whether he might say congratulate his opponent Kamala Harris on her campaign, which he did not do last night. We'll stay tuned and we'll just see what Donald Trump does next.
I thought you would say so. Look forward to the reporting if indeed there is something coming out of Mar-a-Lago. But Tom, thank you so much. Tom Perry from West Palm Beach on the Trump campaign. Let's take you to the other side of things. As we await Kamala Harris and her concession speech, nothing from her yet. Wow. No statement from her campaign on her behalf. But these are the images from overnight that really capture the disappointment of her supporters. The crowd at Howard University in Washington, an HBCU, a historic black college and university as they're known in the United States. That's where she attended school. Her campaign says she will be speaking later on this morning.
We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every
It's like a funeral.
counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the Vice President tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the
Goddamn funeral. I swear to God. That's the vibes I get off this thing.
So there was the campaign co-chair when he speaks of tomorrow. That is, of course,
I mean, the Wagner's not helping
speech.
with that vibe. That's my fault, but
celebration really to an end. And thousands of Harris supporters who've been there for hours watching the results come in, they cleared out in just a matter of minutes. Let's find out more about what happened at Howard. Ashley Burke was at that watch party. She's back right there near Howard University campus. Still strong security we can see behind Ashley this morning. But as we were listening to Tom, Ashley, spirits rose in West Palm Beach as the results were coming in there for Donald Trump, and I imagine it was the exact opposite, deflation in Washington. What was the mood like?
Heather, it was exactly that, and it happened slowly throughout the night. When some of those results came in and Trump was in the lead, we heard booing in the crowd. People still said they were staying optimistic and hopeful, but as the hours went on, faces turned more anxious, and really the looks were much more somber in that very busy crowd, and the crowd started thinning out. But then at 1 o'clock, when that announcement happened that you just heard there, virtually everyone, all of the crowd, all the students that were left, had just left at that point, and people were feeling really disappointed. They had so much hope and pride in Vice President Kamala Harris. They were hoping that she would become the first graduate of their school, which was a historically black college and university, to become president, and they really shown up there in support, hoping this was going to be a big celebration, and indeed in the end it was not. Take a listen to what some of them had to say.
We're America first, America only, forget the rest of the world. That kind of stuff is outdated, but yet it has found its, if you will, legs again in Donald Trump, and that's very disturbing.
Did he make inroads with low propensity voters? Did he make inroads with key demographics that were essential to his victory? I don't know.
All right, people. I'm giving us
go back to the drawing board about what
this.
candidates they try to run in the future.
I feel like she did great. I'm so thankful she came home to Howard University. That just shows her humility, and I think it's great that she did not concede to Donald Trump right away.
So she hasn't come back yet to Howard University on campus. We are waiting for that to happen and to find out when it would happen. It was suggested last night to be sometime in the morning.
Not rolling any dice, just giving us a Gary.
That Harris last night was watching the results come in from her home, and again, we were expecting her to show up here, and that did not happen. And I can tell you,
I think
that
we
the
need a
students we
Gary in
spoke
these
to
trying
were
times.
really disappointed. They were hoping that she would at least come out and thank them for their time, for the pride they've showed her and the support. So a lot of disappointed faces when they got that news. We're hoping to find out and watch closely to see if Harris has talked to Donald Trump, if she's called him, wished him congratulations, and what her message and her tone is going to be. What is she going to say after she had laid out and campaigned, spent so much money on advertising dollars, gone to so many battle states over the past 100 days, and really brought in so much star power from Lady Gaga and Oprah just the other day in Philadelphia to try and help her, that it didn't work, and what she's going to tell people about the
What
fact
did they
that
do
she
wrong?
was
How
able
about
to make
everything?
history last night.
Well, we went over a
It will be
certainly
interesting. The
large
professor
list
at
of
Howard
things that we
University, who
deemed
we were
that they
speaking
had
to,
done
how
wrong,
can
that I
she
had
say
been
that, look to the future with joy,
bringing up
given this
time and time
resounding defeat. Actually,
again
thank you. We'll be back to you when we get that address. Whenever you have any information
over the
about
last few
Kamala
months.
Harris
I
and
thought
when she'll be
maybe
speaking to the
Democrats
nation,
could
we'll be back to
do.
you for sure. For now,
Put
though,
themselves
we
in
go
a position
to
to
the tipping
win.
point state in this election, and that was
But no,
Wisconsin.
they didn't do any of those
Wisconsin, with
things,
10
actually.
electoral college votes put Donald Trump over the top of that 270 number.
Demand a
He needed the
recount.
threshold
Okay, Shade
to win
Dragon.
the electoral college.
It's an interesting plan.
He expected it was
Let's talk
going to
about
be
that.
Wisconsin, and indeed it was. So on the screen
How many
at the
votes
bottom,
does
you see
Kamala
he has
need right now?
276 electoral
In what
college
places?
votes. That's more than enough to win. He leads in a number of races that are still too close to
TDS.
call,
Oh yeah, TDS. Disliking Trump equals Trump derangement syndrome. Oh no. You have a mental disorder for disliking a man who said some of the most horrendous things that any president has ever said publicly.
Votes, or around 1%.
You're sick.
But certainly
Something wrong with you.
That we know it is Donald Trump who's won Wisconsin, and
No, it
once
takes a
Wisconsin,
special person
the rest
to
of the country.
repeat
in Milwaukee,
those sorts of things.
April Musa, she's been covering the campaign. She was there to watch what Wisconsin voters were doing and saying and thinking as they went into the polling booth yesterday. She has more on the vote in Wisconsin and Donald Trump's victory, how it's being seen early in the morning there. So Ithel, good morning. Tell us the Wisconsin story.
Good morning, Heather. You know, it's not a surprise, the outcome of the election. We know that presidential elections here in this battleground state are very, very close. Donald Trump lost in 2020 by about 20,000 votes. His win 8 years ago was also very, very narrow. So it was expected that it was going to be close, and votes were counted well into the morning. And now we know that that blue wall.
Yeah,
we.
It looks like, unless I don't know, there's a million plus million. I don't know exactly how many. Kamala even needs that she would to even get her to victory right now, but once those magically turn up, it looks like we're about to have a convicted felon and civilly liable rapist as our next president. So everybody who's in chat is really excited about that. I'm, you know, hey, that's all you.
To do that very thing, many of his
apparently you're into crimes and
her handling of
yeah,
the
people who
economy.
have done just really bad stuff.
Are some of the
It's weird.
commercials, the attack ads that have been played
Hey, you know,
here
to each their
in
own,
Wisconsin, they
right?
have been aimed at not just fiscally conservative voters. They've also been aimed at socially conservative voters. There have been some really graphic ads, particularly anti-abortion ones. So it's interesting to see just how this is played out here. I also spoke to many voters, though, Heather, that say, regardless of who is the president of the United States, they do want Americans to be united again. There's been a lot of divisiveness and vitriol, and some people here in Wisconsin are looking to turn the page on that.
Ethel, thank you very much. That is the view in Wisconsin. 10 votes there, giving Donald Trump.
I know he won the popular vote by 5 million,
now,
right?
As we
but
look live at
it's hard to say exactly how many votes of those 5 million she would need to still be completely unfair electoral college, right?
What it means for this country. Literally moments ago, the Prime Minister on X, congratulations to Donald Trump on being elected President of the United States. The friendship between Canada and the U.S. is the envy of the world. I know President Trump and I will work together to create more opportunity,
oh yay, Justin Trudeau is super stoked.
Of our nations. Janice McGregor, that has just come out.
Canadian,
not the first time that Donald Trump and
what's his
Prime
name?
Minister Justin
From
Trudeau
the
have
Little
worked
Mermaid,
together.
Prince.
Not the first time Prime Minister Trudeau has had to renegotiate with the Trump administration.
Prince
but
fucking
as
Donald
we join
Trump.
Janice, it may be new ground this time, or a new feeling. I don't know. You
Why is he walking
over.
around free? Because the judge in New York delayed sentencing.
A post
Remember?
of support and
What was it?
congratulations from
2
Justin
months
Trudeau,
ago?
the Prime Minister. Where do things stand
Was it
this
September?
morning in the
I think it was September when that judge.
Indeed, you have this sense here in
what's his
Ottawa
name?
of sort of all the other things being on
Whatever
the
that
table
guy's
just
name
being
is. Delayed sentencing.
aside. Well, everyone wakes up to this news and thinks about how that will
That's why he's
change
walking
things in
free.
this country. I can tell you that the Liberal caucus, as it meets this morning with the Prime Minister and his cabinet, was already expecting to spend all of its time talking about the way forward coming out of this vote in the U.S. In 2016, we were told that the election of Donald Trump caught Justin Trudeau's cabinet off guard. Not this time. We heard from Chrystia Freeland on Monday about how they have worked to keep their relationships active and productive with politicians from both sides of the aisle in Washington. Indeed, we've been told that she dined with Bob Lighthizer, the former U.S. trade representative, her counterpart when Trump was president the first time, could be a counterpart of her again. She has maintained that relationship, keeping ear to the ground about what could be ahead in terms of industrial policy and the economic agenda of the second Trump presidency. Melanie Joly was out talking to Canadians yesterday, trying to provide words of reassurance, talking about how she's been talking to other foreign ministers.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mitty, you said 37.
US elections.
I recommend you refresh your either your
about the Canada-US
app
relationship yesterday.
or your browser.
No longer being about wanting to be friends. More
Mo
about
Nope
how
is, I believe,
they're going
correct.
to need to meet each other's needs. Take a listen.
You know, when you go down south, they both call that the indispensable relationship. We've moved from the good neighbor to the north to the strategic partner that they need in the 21st century, and I think it's a good thing.
But being a good partner in Donald Trump's world, you know, it all comes down to deal making. That's everything that this guy is about. I was speaking with international trade lawyer Mark Warner. He practices on both sides of the border. And he told me he thinks, look, the key for Canada when it goes to deal with Trump again is that they're going to have to see this relationship as transactional.
I see him as transactional. I see a scope for negotiation. So I'm less worried about Trump than I am with the Canadian response to Trump. If we treat this as a negotiation, and we barter some back, I think he's managed.
We know what Trump's priorities are going to be. They have not changed. He's obsessed with the border, immigration issues. Militarily, this guy is not going to tolerate free riders. If allies want protection, they're going to have to pull their weight. And we know that his industrial policy is once again going to be laser focused on China, bringing jobs back to America. He does not care what the economists say about the potential costs to North America of bringing in big new tariffs. That is what he intends to do. Again, when trade wars escalate, it does create exactly the kind of uncertainty that businesses hate.
Wait, we got 500 now? Hell yeah. Let's go. I don't even have the NPC open right now because we're lagging. But just imagine I just did a clap.
Beginning our conversation today on the implications of Trump's win for this country.
Only took a year.
Appear in a very strong position.
Slightly less than that. Nine months.
Full control of the U.S. government.
Almost to the day.
Definitive win in the Senate. They flipped control from the Democrats with wins in states like Montana and Ohio. There you see the makeup of the House there. Right now, even with 52, they are still short of 60 seats. That's the number needed for a supermajority. That control of the Senate will clear the path for Trump's nominees, including cabinet secretaries, federal judges, and most significantly, justices on the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, last hour, I was speaking with law professor Lawrence Douglas. He's a frequent guest when we talk about the High Court, and this is what he told us about Trump and what he could do in terms of shaping the highest court in the United States for a generation.
Remember, so he would nominate justices to the Supreme Court. They have to be confirmed by the Senate. And one of the things that we also saw last night is the Republicans did recapture the Senate. So he could certainly use his nominating power to reshape the Supreme Court basically in a generational affecting way. And the other thing we should bear in mind is it's not simply the power to appoint members or to nominate members of the Supreme Court. He can nominate judges to the entire federal judiciary. And so that includes district court justice, appellate court circuit court, appellate court justices. And he could really reshape the federal judiciary and stock it with loyalists. If we look to his first term in president and to his first presidency, some of his federal judicial appointments were basically.
NCC is playing Pokemon. I don't blame her for that.
Really kind of.
I saw that she was playing. What's it called? Stream.
We should all really be concerned about.
I can't remember it. It's like that. It's like that. Pixel art game. Like the zombie on, and that's when I knew things were bad. Like I woke up to I was like, wait, no one's streaming. NCC is live playing video games. I need to look at the polls.
The legal implications of Donald Trump's
what didn't they do wrong? It's a great question. I mean, we went over it. How many things? They didn't. They got rid of. They got Joe Biden to step out, and then didn't get Kamala to do the things that Joe Biden was unpopular for, or to at least do substantial things to distance herself from some of those things.
We were talking about all of that last hour with our chief correspondent,
and specifically that on Palestine and in Gaza, Middle East policy. That was one of the biggest problems in terms of her not distancing herself on that. I think in terms of getting activist base, which would have gotten people out to vote. But as you can see, with 16 million less votes than in 2020, the proof is in the pudding. You ignore those people. You tell them, hey, fuck yourself. You know, your concerns are invalid. Well, guess what? We're going in our direction, right? And well, that's gonna leave you in a weird spot, especially if those people are the people who are supposed to be out there screaming your name and getting people to realize why they're very stupid for supporting anyone else. And instead, all they can do is stare into the horror of all of that and sort of find ways to what? I mean, what's the word?
Because the Republicans had a complete to get out the vote this time. They essentially.
Because I can think of a few, and I'm just like,
Super PAC, other social conservative civil rights groups or civil groups.
It's just offensive.
Maybe it didn't matter to them.
How we got to where we are.
Maybe they knew that getting someone to vote
Right.
for you is no longer about.
Of course, there were
knocking on
many
the door,
other mistakes in there.
And trying to.
But that was one of the biggest.
Help them, nudge them along.
How else do you explain
Maybe they understood that
the difference?
social media
4 years.
in particular,
Donald Trump got 5 million less votes
Taylor
than he
Swift
did in
is
2020
supporting
and
me,
still won.
Therefore, you should.
He got
But
75 million in
speaking to
2020,
those grievances,
70 million in this,
picking at
still
those
won.
things that
Because Kamala
drive
got
engagement
16
on
million
social
less
media.
votes.
Fear and anger are the drivers for, in particular, young men. Right? Those are the things that get people doom scrolling. Those are the things that get engagement on social media. So they leaned into that and they used that. And it didn't just work with young men, it worked with young women as well. This is an earthquake for the Democrats to try to say, what did we not understand about Americans? There's a whole.
I mean, how many billions of dollars? I think it was more than $1 billion got spent by the campaign. Right? How much money?
Is over. That
How much
they
money
have
got
to
spent?
think very hard.
I think it's important for us to recognize just how much money was spent. I mean, a lot of it was, of course, billionaire donor money, which I'm fine with getting spent. But it's also a bunch of just regular, people who donated to the campaign and excitement to maybe have the first woman, first female Black Asian combo president in history, but and for other reasons, of course. But like, there were people excited for different reasons, and also
but that is a
gave
small
her money.
consolation, really, for Democrats. Trump does appear poised to win all 3 of the neighboring Rust Belt battleground states, and we're talking about those. Still 3 pending to count, but Trump is leading in all 3 of those.
You take a break. I don't blame you.
Reporter in Duluth,
Break it
Minnesota,
up.
is Sarah Law, and she's up to take
Break
a
it
look
up.
at the results in Minnesota, but
I
also talking
I already
to people
got a
there up
break
very early
at the wrong
this
time, I
morning.
guess,
What
or
are
the
they
right
saying
time,
about a
depending
Donald Trump
on how you want
presidency
it.
and what the polls are showing, Sarah.
Estimate
I'm
that.
here in Duluth. It's a port city
God.
situated on Lake Superior, just 4 hours away from Thunder Bay, Ontario. About 88,000 people live here, and I've been speaking with a few early risers here just outside of a coffee shop.
There's more than $1 billion.
I spoke with one man, he said that he is not feeling good about the outcome of the election.
Okay.
And he
It was
feels
definitely
that
more
the
than $1
world
billion.
is feeling sorry for Americans
Can't find an exact
today.
number.
I also spoke
Fuck.
with a
I
runner.
should
She
go
was
to.
with a
That's
group of
probably
women
on.
who said that they were running to vent out their frustrations about the results. She says that she's very concerned about women's rights and
What
access to
is it
health care. She's
we
worked in the
are
healthcare
living
industry,
through right now?
saw the devastating impacts that COVID-19 had on her family and community.
Is anybody being haunted by this Wagner music as much as I am?
People across America
At the same time, it's it's adding some sort of ambiance to this stream that
good that Tim Walz is remaining
I'm not even
state
mad
governor,
at.
of course, and she feels confident in some of the wins that he's made over his time as that governor. And she is feeling hopeful about some of the environmental protections that voters were in favor for on the ballot.
Sarah, thank you very much. Sarah Law from Minnesota in Duluth for us live to give us the scene there. Now, let's bring you the perspective of a Trump supporter, how they're feeling as they celebrate the victory from early this morning. You met him last week, Paul James Jr. He's the president of Young Republicans of Bexar County. He's in Texas this morning, solid Trump territory. The MAGA hat is on. And Paul, welcome back. You said you'd come back on our program, and here you are in the early morning hours. Good morning, and how are you feeling?
Good morning, Heather. I'm feeling a lot more cheerful than I was the other day, but I was even optimistic then. And we knew that Trump was running a strong campaign. We knew what the groundswell of support was for him. And so today is a victory lap, and we're just thankful for everybody that brought this home.
So when did you put that hat on? You've been up. People should know you've been up all night. Were you at a polling station, or what were you doing as you watched the returns come in?
So I'm the dreaded frack engineer that has been the subject of debate across the country and even in Canada. And so I've been out here on location. I started my shift yesterday afternoon, and I was finishing up. And about after midnight, we were in the middle of fracking a stage, and we saw Pennsylvania turn, and we knew it was going to turn sooner or later. But it literally turned in the middle of the stage, and a big sign of relief from everyone there. But just
the fact is, this victory for Donald Trump is no.
So I am wondering, when you
what's
say
the word?
That you're there working in the fracking
Oh, God, my brain
part
just
of
broke.
oil and gas. If anyone was watching our conversation last week, and I hope they were, what you explained to us was you had
it's a
voted
hollow
Democrat
victory.
Before, but you voted
Because
for
he
Donald
still
Trump,
got 5 million less votes than last time.
friends and supporters
Right?
on Trump's
If anything, it's just a
support line,
complete
too,
and utter
because
indictment
you felt
of
you
the
got
entire
jobs, you got work
campaign and all the
because
things
of
that we
Donald
just
Trump.
talked
Just
about,
explain
right?
that economic connection that you
From
felt
beginning to
as an
end.
American to Donald Trump.
Well, yes. Once again, I wrote about this in my Newsweek op-ed, and what I saw as a minority in this country during Obama's time, there was a lot of shift in the economy from the private sector to the regulatory bodies. And so when Trump came in, the first thing he did was he reduced all of the regulations that was on energy and manufacturing and pushed for trade deals that brought a lot of that work back home. And so my support for him came from seeing the benefits of what he did in his administration for people like myself in the workforce. Now, everyone that's supporting Trump today, not only are they looking at it from the economic standpoint, but now we're also looking at the national security standpoint as well. Us giving away the oil and gas sector, giving away our manufacturing. We saw during COVID how many of our products and how many of our pharmaceuticals were not even made in the United States or North America. So a lot of this becomes now a security situation, and Trump had the best agenda to bring those things back home and incorporate the workforce locally while doing so. So I think that a lot of folks rewarded him for that plan that he laid out so clean.
So that's really
He
interesting. I really
what are
wanted
you
to
talking
help
about?
you,
Laid a
have
clean
you
plan.
help us
He did
understand
not
that,
lay
because
out a clean
that
plan.
closing message from Donald Trump, do you feel like you're in a better position
Dude
now
waffled
than
back
you were 4
and
years
forth
ago?
on,
And
like,
clearly Americans in voting as they have.
How many exactly how many positions did he go back and forth on during this election? It was not a clean platform. It's hilarious. A GNN, sister of CNN? Yeah.
Every other concern, all the
Yeah.
other issues out there, it's about the economy. Would you agree with that?
That's it.
Well,
Sister of
it's all part and
CNN.
parcel here.
Yeah, it all works together. I mean,
Only similar in name and logo.
From the
That is all.
administration, he's even been a part of the Obama and Biden administration consulting to them.
Does this mean he's a
It's
dictator for a
economy
day?
stupid, and at
I
the
mean,
end of the
it
day,
means he's.
the most
I
tangible
mean, if
thing
he
that
goes
every
through with any of
single
the things he
person
said,
touches is
he's gonna,
their
yeah,
groceries, the
as
gas,
well as,
paying their light bill, paying
sort of
rent. When you
put in
see these
place
costs,
the future
outpacing
dictatorships.
the cost of the price of your income, what you're bringing in, you're not able to maintain that. And so the lack of comfort that people felt in their day-to-day expenses, I mean, that was a
how much do we talk about that goddamn Project 2025, Bob?
Democrats and Kamala
Feels like that's,
tried to distract from
you
that
know.
by making it more about women's rights and reproductive justice and so forth. And we know from the Gut
That's
Map
clearly on the
Institute
table,
that
right?
abortion is up over 11% since the Dobbs decision. So it's not
Which
to say
includes
that
what's
abortion
been
has
described
been
as essentially like a
yes, that's changed
like
in
a
terms of
dictator
ways provided
package,
in different
right?
states.
Like the
However, abortion is still
what was there was like a description of an entire book of
tried to sleight of hand
pre-written
on that, but people couldn't
governmental
get off the fact
forms
I don't
that
need an
are
abortion,
essentially
I need to pay
like
for my car
you know,
insurance.
Mad
I need to
Libs
pay for my
type
light
of,
bill.
or whatever it's called. You know, you write in the blanks and you get the policy, right? You just write in Donald Trump or whoever's in power and you sign it, right?
Key changes
But,
in its, as you
yeah.
say, state.
I mean, if he pulls that book out and starts signing these things, putting them into law, oh boy.
For those who didn't support Donald Trump, and you're there in Texas,
It's
we know that
900
job,
pages
day
of
one, he promised
disastrousness
mass
for
deportation would begin
the civil rights,
millions
for
of, illegal migrants. There are many
I mean,
people
go down
who
the
don't
fucking
support
list,
him,
right?
Who have concerns and indeed fears about him, from the perspective of going to be isolationist, going to be, essentially unhinged. Unrestricted.
Yes, Mini Doctor brings up another point that I brought up already 3 times, but I think we should talk about it at least another 14 times. Where's that fucking Liz Cheney vote? Where's all those disaffected Republicans that the Democrats were pushing to the right for? Constantly, these neoliberal centrist shills were constantly trying to pander to. Where are they? I said it before today, that we're talking about like 11 people. They don't even exist. They're 11 fictional people thought up by Nancy Pelosi.
Speech to bring everyone together, and he will be a president for all Americans. I think a lot of the issues that people have, of course, we have very nasty divisions.
But no, Democrats decided that we would go in a different direction than embracing the base of the Democratic Party. Activists,
not only on Trump but also on us,
people like that. Instead, Liz Cheney and her
so
pals,
we'll listen to see what Kamala Harris says in exactly that theme when she addresses the nation at some point this morning. Paul, I really appreciate having some more time with you today and to get more of your views. And wear that hat to bed. I'm expecting that you'll be in that for the foreseeable future. Thanks for the time again. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Heather. God bless you.
Paul James Jr., as we speak to him from Texas this morning, as we take a look at the nationwide picture. Look here at the breakdown of states. You see just how much is red, the huge swath of red in support of Donald Trump, in fact. We are still waiting on calls for those swing states, those key battlegrounds, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada. Even without those states, you can see how Trump has been able to reach and surpass the necessary threshold, 270 electoral college votes. He has 276, courtesy of Wisconsin, which came in earlier this morning around 5:30 with its 10.
We're looking at a full sweep of the battleground states. That's what I'm looking at now. I mean, there's no way it doesn't happen. I don't think. I mean, Michigan, that's what they're counting on in terms of like getting her numbers up, and this not being one of the biggest electoral losses for Democrats. And how long has it been since Democrats lost by more than 50 points in an election?
Electoral college votes, Donald Trump, the winner of the presidential election, now the president-elect, soon to be the 47th president of the United States. We've been looking at some of the ballot measures that voters have been considering, the down ballot, the propositions, and the things that they've been voting on. And Marianne's been looking at that. I was just talking with Paul about abortion. A number of the states, big concerns since the overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022. And so this was on the ballot in many states. And you're looking at some of the other measures. So take us through some of the things that were decided as well, apart from Donald Trump.
Yes, because abortion was a key issue over the course of this campaign. We know that it was the focal point of Kamala Harris's campaign. The Republicans, meanwhile, were saying that it should be up to the state. And the states did vote on this, 10 in fact. And so let's start with Florida, because when you look at the numbers, you see that they had more than 50%, but it did fall short of the 60% threshold needed for passage here. So they rejected the ballot measure to protect the right to an abortion. And that means the state's 6-week ban does remain in place, despite that 57.1%. Let's get reaction, though, because there has been a lot of reaction coming out of Florida, including from Democratic State Representative Anna Eskamani. She was part of the fight to put abortion on the ballot, the state's ballot, in the first place. And this was her reaction after hearing that the state rejected that ballot measure.
Though I am incredibly disappointed, we need to remember that our movement for flirting its rights and freedoms is now more vital than ever. We won historic support. Most candidates cannot secure 57% of the vote. And if it wasn't for corporations back in 2006 who increased that threshold to 60%, we would have won by a landslide tonight.
But that was not the case. Let's talk about other states here, including South Dakota. They were the second to reject this measure. And then there's Nebraska. This was interesting because there were dueling measures here. In the case of legalizing the right to abortion through viability, 55.3% voted in favor. We are waiting for official results on the second measure, which was the amendment to prohibit abortions after the first trimester. Going back to where Donald Trump stood on this issue specifically, we know that he cast his ballot in Florida, though he was asked repeatedly from reporters there after he cast his ballot how he voted on this specific measure. He refused to answer, but we know that over the course of his campaign, he did shift a lot, changing where he stood on this. And again, that was very different, as I mentioned, from Kamala Harris, who made this the focal point of her.
You guys think Donald Trump can pardon himself now that he's president, even though he's a convicted criminal?
Colorado, New York, and Maryland, they were voting to protect and maintain the abortion rights that were already in place there. In Colorado specifically, that's where abortion is already legal for all of those states. But in Colorado specifically, abortion is legal. But approving this time around means public funds can now be used. Other states, Montana, also Nevada, we know that they've...
I mean, I don't think anything you can do now is illegal, right? You can basically go on a massacre if you want. It'd be a presidential act, right?
Of fetal viability. That's around the
That's what the Supreme Court said earlier, didn't they, on presidential immunity?
The current ban on abortion, which was 15 weeks into pregnancy. If you've been following this, you know that there was a lot of national
Better hope MAGA doesn't, you know, do anything to upset him.
To uphold a total ban on abortion. So there was a lot of reaction to that. So this is big. The fact that Arizona...
Good luck with the tariffs, thanks. Are you not in the United States? If so, yeah, enjoy not having massive tariffs on all of your goods.
Also economy. And so we'll be talking about that throughout the morning.
Okay, and you know, we're actually going to speak to a doctor whom we met earlier in the campaign who has an abortion clinic in Arizona, what this means to her, how she's viewing exactly the changes that you...
No, you're right. He doesn't mean by default now, but he, at some point, I guess he... I guess he won't be president anymore. I guess it's not clear.
This is from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He put out a
You
very
know,
brief
with all the dictator
tweet
talk,
before, now a more
I
fulsome
guess...
statement on Donald Trump's victory.
Now I'm having visions of him just sort of
Government of Canada, I congratulate
dying in
Donald Trump
office
on being
in
elected as President of the United States of
2050
America
or something,
for a second
at the
term,
age of
and Senator J.D. Vance for his
117
election
or
as
whatever.
Vice President of the United States. Canada and the U.S. have the world's most successful partnership. We are neighbors and friends, united by a shared history, common values, and steadfast ties between our peoples. We are also each other's largest trade partners, and our economies are deeply intertwined. During President Trump's first term, we successfully renegotiated the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement, which
Ooh, don't certify the election. Interesting. I guess Kamala, yeah. I guess Kamala doesn't have to certify the election, right? Like Mike Pence. Luke Swine makes a good point. You know, she is the one who decides. Remember that? Hang Mike Pence? Who remembers that? I remember it.
To deepen this relationship since 2015, bilateral trade between our two countries has increased by over $400 billion. And it continues. We look forward to working with President-elect Trump and his administration, including on issues such as
Remember you people were really upset about Mike Pence certifying the election?
So that is new.
I don't want to make any claims here, but oof. I don't know. I'm feeling some parallels between these two things.
So we will see if he shows up at that caucus meeting. If there are further comments to be made, further reaction from any other MPs and cabinet ministers as they arrive on one today. We do know the Foreign Affairs Minister, Melanie Joly, she is also offering congratulations.
They passed a new law since Pence? Yeah.
In a social media post for now, she posts Canada and the U.S. are friends, neighbors, and allies, deeply connected.
I am joking. It's a sarcastic comment. Unlike the Republicans, I don't actually think that insurrection will solve losing a Democratic election.
To speak to Donald Trump to express his concern, the beginning of those reforming of ties, which are going to be so important now in the 4 years to come. So let's bring you some more reaction. This is a little bit more from Donald Trump's speech this morning, the moment where he brings up his running mate and his next vice president, J.D. Vance.
I want to be the first to...
Need a plan? Hey, we will get to that. I'm just trying to process this right now, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about that soon, okay? I see you, I hear you.
And his absolutely remarkable and beautiful wife, Ushabez. And he is a feisty guy, isn't he? You know, I've said, go into the enemy camp. And you know, the enemy camp is certain networks. And a lot of people don't like to, sir, do I have to do that? He just goes, okay. Which one? CNN, MSDNC? He'll say, all right, thank you very much. He actually looks fine. He's still like the only guy I've ever seen. He really looks forward to it, and then he just goes and absolutely obliterates them. Say a couple of words.
Say some words. Do you like words, people? I've never heard words this good.
Wow.
Here's JD. Not weird at all. Although, we're not going to let him around the couches in the White House.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America. And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
Thank you very much. He's turned out to be a good choice. I took a little heat at the beginning, but he was, I knew the brain was a good one, about as good as it gets. And we love the family, and we're going to have a great 4 years, and we're going to turn our country around, make it something very special.
That is Donald Trump as he introduced and thanked J.D. Vance, the vice president-elect, a little gleeful there as he talks about the choice, which was criticized early on. That was in West Palm Beach, Florida. Let's take a closer look at an emerging story from this election. Something.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to take a quick break here. I think I'm going to play this again. Just for, you know, shits and gigs. Because I feel like we've definitely had a bunch of turnover in chat. Might as well just look at this. This is this was essentially a compilation of the race. Not quite from beginning to end. But up to 12 days ago. From a little-known channel by the name of the Galactic News Network. Wait, what's that? Oh, it's this channel. Huh. Weird.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right, he did beat Medicaid.
You, the voters did that. And despite
despite that some folks don't seem to care who you voted for. Well, guess what? They're trying to push me out of the race. Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Are you ready? On you. Ready? Move! Up! Move! Go! Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. I got you.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold up your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the cross.
Let me get my shoes.
Watch out.
He always finds a way to win. And when he's back in our White House, America is going to start winning again.
He's got a higher IQ than any man alive. He's going to fix everything.
The price of food and gas and housing is out of control. And the only person who can clean this up is Donald Trump.
He'll fix the problems with all the dead crops. He's going to make them grow again.
He's going to win in November, and we're all going to be champions again when he wins.
Give you my word. He's going to fix the economy.
Let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
That's what I thought.
But I'll bet inside she was laughing last night when she saw the way Joe Biden left, because that was a coup. That was a coup. And I'm no fan of his at all. And it started with the debate, and from that point on, it just got worse and worse. But that was a coup. It was a vicious, violent overthrow of a president of the United States. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said, we can do it the nice way, or we can do it the hard way.
How do you cast your vote?
We are here tonight to officially nominate Kamala Harris for president. Bob, get loud, another round of shots. DNC, turn out for what?
I can feel the excitement in this arena. It's filled with energy and with joy.
The air of joy. 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 We will be joyful warriors. The president of joy. Let us choose joy. Oh, it was joyful.
Kamala Harris. Accept good faith. Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter He will talk about windmills cause cancer.
People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. Not black. And I'll say that. And then I read that she was black.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. 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 They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
Again. You talk about extreme.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
You talk about extreme.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
She hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech.
Again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past.
Keep walking! I need that long.
The devastation from Hurricane Helene is immense. Millions of Americans are without power. Thousands of families have lost their homes. Entire neighborhoods have been destroyed. Major roads have been blocked or damaged, leaving entire towns inaccessible at this very moment. I have shared with them that we will do everything in our power to help communities respond and recover. And I've shared with them that I plan to be on the ground as soon as possible.
The same stories that we all hear, that FEMA has done a very poor job. They spent a lot of money on bringing illegal migrants, people that came into our country illegally, and taking them in, and all of the money they've spent, numbers that nobody can even believe. So they don't have any money for the people that live here. They got hit by one of the worst storms, possibly the worst storm ever, but one of the worst storms in the history of our country.
Find common ground. And Bill, that is why I believe in my soul and heart the American people are ready to turn the page.
And it's true. They're destroying the blood of our country. That's what they're doing. They're destroying our country. They don't like it when I said that. And I never read Mein Kampf. They said, oh, Hitler said that in a much different way. No, they're coming from all over the world, people all over the world. We have no idea. They could be healthy.
Wait,
they
Duck
could be
is
very
banned?
unhealthy. They could bring
Wait,
in
why is Duck
disease that's
banned?
gonna catch on in our country.
Okay, hold on. I'll try and unban Duck.
Differently than
Please
President
hold.
Biden during the past 4 years.
Please hold.
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Oh, who would ban? Which of the mods ban Duck?
And it should be very easily handled.
Somebody.
If necessary by National Guard, or if really necessary by the
Somebody.
military. We have the greatest military in the world, but you have to know how to use them. But I protect you against outside enemies.
Playing
But you know, I always
fire.
say we have the outside enemy. So you can say China, you can say Russia, you can say Kim Jong-un, you can say. But
Say
that's not
Kim
it's gonna be
Jong-un.
right. If you have a smart president, no problem. It's the enemy from within, all the scum that we have to deal with, that hate our country.
You and I both know that he has talked about turning
right,
the
let me
American military on the
see.
American people.
Ban list.
The kind of generals Hitler had.
An 11th hour bombshell report from the Atlantic Jeffrey Goldberg, quoting Trump touting the loyalty of Hitler's generals and reporting that Trump complained about picking up the tab for a fallen U.S. soldier's funeral, calling her an effing Mexican. All right, well, let's start with Hitler's generals. Goldberg reporting that Trump asked Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, about claims that Trump once asked him, quote, "Why can't you be like the German generals? Do you mean the Kaiser's generals? Surely you cannot mean Hitler's generals." And he said, yeah, Hitler's generals. And the Atlantic goes on to cite then two more sources who were at the Trump White House. They claimed that they heard Trump say, quote, "I need the kind of generals that Hitler had, people who were totally loyal to him, that follow orders."
This is super weird. I can't even see the ban list right now. Oh, what in the fuck? Hold on. I think I can do this a different way. Alright, I'm gonna switch it again here. Back to the live stream, I guess we'll go to for what, like MSNBC or something, I guess. I think I have one open already. Oh, CBC. Let's go to CBC. CBC seems fine. I don't even want to hear from the American media right now. Not one time. The rest of the day.
We've been seeing as a trend in polling during the run-up, and that's now confirmed in the election results, and that is support swinging to Trump by Latino men. We have results in from states like Texas. We show those voters strongly backing Trump for the first time, really. We're seeing that in 2 Texas counties with a large Mexican-American electorate. Exit polls as well. Not as final as the actual polling data we'll get in time, but the best indication we have in this early going, exit polls pointing to Trump erasing the margin that Joe Biden had with Latino men going back to 2020. That's one of the things I want to talk about with my next guest, what happened in the battlegrounds of Pennsylvania. That's a state we've been watching so closely because of its 19 electoral college votes. We talked about the very large Latino population and particularly Puerto Rican American population as being potentially determinant in how Pennsylvania went. Well, Pennsylvania went for Trump, as have all of the confirmed battleground states. So let's look at why that was. Victor Martinez was with us just hours ago, it seems. He's the owner of the Spanish language radio station in Pennsylvania, La Mega, and he hosts a fantastic, what was it? La Relajo de la Mañana. Is that right? Did I get it right?
El Relajo de la Mañana.
Exactly, and he's in Allentown, Pennsylvania, one of the stops for Kamala Harris on the last day of her campaign. Victor, thank you so much for coming back this morning. I do want to talk about Latino men as a voting bloc in just a second, but number one, let me ask you personally, you're a Democrat, you were actively campaigning for the Harris campaign. How are you feeling this morning?
I mean, absolutely, without a doubt, disappointed. You know, you want your candidate to win, and she didn't. So, of course, there's a little bit of disappointment on that.
Okay. Disappointment, is there questioning? Are you thinking about what happened? What if? Hindsight is 2020. Why did she lose this campaign? Any mistakes that you can point to or things that you might have done differently or factors at play?
Well, I mean, the one thing that I can tell you is that it's clear the United States doesn't want a female president. That to me, it's absolutely clear. You were talking about the Latino man, and I can tell you within my audience, I got a tremendous amount of calls of male Latinos who didn't believe that she would be respected because she was a woman. They didn't think that she was going to be able to be strong enough with leaders of the world because she was a woman.
And yet Mexico just elected their first female president earlier this year.
Absolutely, and
so it's not all Latinos.
With the multiple interviews that I did
apparently
before the election,
in America,
the macho culture within the Latino community, and I told my audience, and I had those conversations with these Latino men that were calling. You realize, and I used to tell them, you realize that other countries have had women leaders without a problem. But again, they just weren't having it, and you can see that in the numbers, where Latino men voted overwhelmingly with Donald Trump, and that's because she was a woman. And if you look at the numbers with Hillary Clinton, Trump was able to win the same places he won when Hillary was running. Now, when it comes to the Latino vote in general, if you look at Pennsylvania, she won without the Latino vote. It was so right now it's 72-26. 72% of Latinos voted for Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania. Only 26% of the Latino vote voted for Donald Trump.
As I look at the NBC exit poll, which again is not precise, but it's the best indication we have, 54% Latino men for Donald Trump, so the majority for Donald Trump.
Yes.
For that machismo that you've laid out, that is so interesting. Okay, so as we look at that as a factor, I want to ask about, you've heard that from your callers in the run-up to the vote yesterday. What are you hearing? Anything in the early morning hours on your airwaves, or what do you expect you'll hear from your listeners today?
Well, as soon as we got on the air this morning at 6 o'clock East Coast time here in Pennsylvania, we started the show right away, asking the audience, and of course you have the people who supported Donald Trump who were extremely happy, and those who didn't, extremely sad. But then the conversation turned immediately from those who did not support Donald Trump on letting those who did support Trump that the expectations are really high. You told us that you could bring the gasoline prices down to $2 the way they were 4 years ago when he was president. We want that now. You said that eggs and bacon were going to be cheap. We want that now. You promised that you were going to bring down the inflation back to when you were president. We want that now. You said you were going to close the border. You were going to solve the immigration issue, even though you didn't when you were president. Well, guess what? We expect that now. So the expectations are really high. There's a long list of things that Trump claimed he was going to do without telling us how. But nonetheless, he said he was going to do, and those who didn't support him are now ready to go to hold him accountable for all of those things he said he was going to do.
So some of those promises won voters, and even those who didn't support him, now they're at least saying, okay, show me the money, or ostensibly, make good on what you have pledged. I'm wondering what the level of concern is, though, at this point, because we know that immigration, really tapping into fears about immigration, was one of the reasons that he was so successful with some voters. That was a big priority for him, and he's made the border and immigration and this big pledge to deport millions on day one, a massive deportation. What is the concern level now that he's gone again?
And I will also say he never told us how. He said he was going to deport 20 million people, but he never said how he was going to implement that. So that's still out there. But yes, absolutely, there's concern that all of a sudden the local police departments will be utilized or will be activated to go after.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Donald Duck. I can't figure it out.
In the US,
because suddenly my settings are blank. I have no idea why. I think it's a YouTube, some sort of glitch. Hopefully reset soon. Sorry, Donald. Somebody tell Donald that he's gonna have to
work together, and if you create that distrust between the
it's gonna have to get a
very well have a bad reaction to the way the system works. So
we have to get in here with a different account, I guess.
People like me, I've said this before.
I don't know.
If you look at me physically, you don't right from the get-go think I'm a Puerto Rican U.S. citizen. You may think I'm from somewhere in Latin America.
I honestly don't want to add like an approved, whatever. I'll actually, maybe I'll DM Donald.
Deportation programs goes into effect. How am I going to be harassed? Is a police officer going to stop me just to ask me where do I come from, or to show him some sort of a documentation that proves that I'm a U.S. citizen?
Propensity voters. Did he make inroads with key demographics that were essential to his victory? I don't know.
YouTube is banning a lot of people?
I think they'll just have to kind of go back to the drawing
board
about what kind of candidates they try to run in the future.
What the hell is that about?
I feel like she did great. I'm so thankful she came home to Howard University. That just shows her humility, and I think it's great that she did not concede to Donald Trump right away.
So she hasn't come back yet to Howard University on campus. We are waiting for that to happen and to find out when it would happen. It was suggested last night it would be sometime in the morning. So we're waiting for some sort of notification about that. Harris last night was watching the results come in from her home. And again, we were expecting her to show up here, and that did not happen. And I can tell you that the students we spoke to were really disappointed. They were hoping that she would at least come out and thank them for their time, for the pride they've showed her and the support. So a lot of disappointed faces when they got that news. We're hoping now to find out and watch closely to see if Harris has talked to
after the stream, we'll try and
Donald
figure
Trump,
out
if
what's
she's
going
called
on with
him,
Donald,
wished him
but
congratulations,
we're probably going to end it soon.
And what her message and her tone is going to be. What is she going to say after she
Good God.
laid out
What a way to start the
campaigns,
day.
spent so much money on advertising dollars, gone to so many battle states over the past 100 days, and really
Laid my
brought
head
so
down
much
for what I
star
thought was going to be
power
2
from Lady
seconds
Gaga
during the
and
Majority
Oprah
Report live
just the other
stream,
day in
whatever it
Philadelphia
was,
to
like
try and help her, that it didn't work.
10
And
o'clock.
what she's going to tell people about the fact that she wasn't able to make history last night.
That is Ashley Burke. We'll get back to her when we hear any further information about Kamala Harris. We are also waiting to hear from U.S. President Joe Biden. He had no public events yesterday. We do know he spent election night watching the results at the White House. We'll see if there's anything posted from him or if he makes an official appearance today. Once again, as we take a look at the White House, the number we have for you this morning at 8:12 Eastern, Donald Trump is returning to the White House as the 47th president. He is the president-elect right now after that win in Wisconsin. 10 electoral college votes put him over the threshold. He now sits at 276. He himself has said he could hit 315. We will see. He's also won the popular vote, which he did not do in any of his previous campaigns. So that's a big personal goal attained for him. This is what the papers are saying about his return to the White House. The Sun is saying simply done and dusted. On the right-hand side, The Independent saying Donald Trump claims historic comeback win. Sorry, there's the Sun. There's The Independent. Donald Trump claims historic comeback win, for sure. A stunning political comeback, one of the most striking in the modern political age. We know that Canadians are waking up to this news with our program and elsewhere, and this is what people in Halifax are saying as they react.
I'm actually lost for words. I don't actually know what to say because I'm very surprised that Trump won again.
Hilarious.
Given his past.
What did Democrats do wrong? They crashed the economy? That's hilarious.
Happy.
Did they?
I wasn't like
in what way?
ecstatic. I'm not,
the economy's crashed?
or anything, but like
why is the stock market at all-time highs then? Is that a crashed economy?
Very disappointing. Makes you wonder what's going on in the U.S. of A.
I think it's going to get way worse. I think he's going to try and flip rules and get away with more, and I think he's going to follow through with a lot of stuff he said in the campaign.
But I think overall, the bigger picture, the bigger economy, the whole country as a whole, I think will suffer. I think the world will suffer as a result of this, I'm afraid.
So thanks to Brett Ruskin for gathering that opinion. The people in Halifax waking up to the news of another Donald Trump administration. The Prime Minister has reacted from Ottawa, offering congratulations. He issued a full statement this morning. I'll share part of it with you. He says Canada and the U.S. have the world's most successful partnership. He speaks to the history shared between Canadians and Americans, what he calls our common values and steadfast ties. Trudeau says Canada and the U.S. are each other's largest trading partners whose economies are intertwined. He also points out his government negotiated a new free trade agreement when Trump was in the White House, and that's a starting point for my next conversation. You heard one of the viewers in Halifax concerned about the bigger economy. Let's look to that. Donald Trump has repeatedly proposed a sweeping 10% tariff on all U.S. imports, including from Canada, as part of his protectionist economic policy. Ottawa is already bracing for a potentially damaging trade dispute, review of NAFTA, the second NAFTA, the new NAFTA. He's also threatened to use tariffs as a punitive measure. Just on Monday of this week, he warned Canada, Mexico, and China could face, in his words, large-scale tariffs if those countries don't stop fentanyl from entering the United States. So let's bring in Anis Hidari. Thank you for coming in, tracking the economic angle of all of this. What do we watch for? How could this affect things?
Well, when we are talking about these tariffs, those are
You get to see more SCOTUS appointments. Yeah. They've been talking about how they have that all sort of
Trump imposes those on
planned out.
They would pay, and we've talked about this a lot over the past few months. What he is threatening.
What is it? Thomas and Alito, who probably are going to drop down, like drop out, or whatever you call it, step down.
Would have to pay for that.
Is it Alito?
Ostensibly, they're not going to want
to.
So they
wait, who's the other oldest one?
So they buy their own domestic products instead, and that would be devastating to the Canadian economy in a lot of ways. As you know, we heard from the Prime Minister even in that statement. Our economies are very intertwined. Most of what we sell goes to the United States. If they stop buying it because it's become more expensive, that will, yes, make things more expensive for Americans, at least in the short or medium term. But it's pretty bad for us. The flip side, though, is we don't really know where Trump will impose these tariffs at first. You know, he talks about 10% across the board. But, for example, he may not impose a 10% tariff on oil and gas, which is also something that we produce in conjunction with the United States, that we send there. But then there is also the new NAFTA, CUMSA, whatever abbreviation you use, that comes into play as well. Even if tariffs don't happen, if this is bluster from Donald Trump, he's already renegotiated NAFTA with us once. And there are some real pain points there between the United States and Canada that Canadian economic watchers are certainly looking at.
This is such a landslide.
Is one of them. Trump has spoken repeatedly about
16 million less votes than Joe Biden got in 2020. 5 million votes less for Trump than he got in 2020. That's 20 plus million votes less.
Will that come up if and when NAFTA gets renegotiated?
It's practically 10% of the American populace.
That the United States gets that kind of
certainly 10% of the American voting demographic.
Really has the potential to impact every aspect of our economy if Trump is threatening these kind of blanket policies. We have heard projections that it could cut 5% from our GDP. That's hefty. That would be hefty. It's 5%. Might sound like, oh, it's just the GST. It's pretty big. Canadians would feel that pain if it happens. But, you know, there's a lot of ifs.
Lots of talks about getting exemptions from those for Canada under that trade agreement, which, as you say, up for review in 2026. So this is definitely a story in the near term for Canadians. What about immediate impact? What are you seeing on the market?
So right as we saw Trump really start to take the lead last night, the U.S. dollar started to surge. That brought the Canadian dollar down. Nothing that is going to affect your vacation plans or businesses buying and selling a lot of money right now, but you can definitely see the graphs go for the U.S. dollar and in the other direction for the Canadian dollar as Trump was taking power, probably because people are looking at the markets and saying, okay, Trump is about to cut taxes in the U.S. If he fills his promises, he is going to really take a protectionist stance in terms of his rhetoric for the United States. So people are wanting to put their money into that currency. And when we look at futures, you know, the markets haven't opened yet. The Dow Jones looks like it's creeping up. NASDAQ looks like it's creeping up. Even the TSX futures are creeping up because ostensibly investors
not just creeping up, they're up.
Are coming. Trump may be good for business.
They are up right now. Let me see. The NASDAQ futures are up nearly 2%, or 1.5% right now.
But it was notable that as Trump started to take
1.7,
markets started to creep up.
S&P futures up 2.2. Dow Jones futures up 3%. I mean, those are not small margins.
Trump has talked a lot about Bitcoin. He said that he wants the U.S. to be the crypto capital. And Bitcoin hit record highs as Trump started to take the lead last night, and it's still going up there.
So you'll have a lot to watch today, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Give Trump a chance and shut the fun trap.
Anise, thank you.
Give him a chance. What are you talking about?
Thank you, Anise.
He's been in the limelight, political limelight specifically, for 10 years. He was president for 4 years. Didn't give him a chance.
Cabinet ministers, they met yesterday, of course, but they'll be back for
I've heard plenty.
And
whether or not any of us like it, unless there's something that we're all missing right now, he's going to be president. So what do you mean, give him a chance? What's that supposed to mean?
Anise just laid out there when dealing with a second Trump administration. Janice McGregor is in our parliamentary bureau in Ottawa. This new NAFTA
can't hear me over the music.
2026, in a
music is loud. That's fair.
From Angus Reid, more more people, 40% of respondents, said Pierre Poilievre would be best situated, best positioned as Prime Minister of this country to deal with a Trump presidency. And only a quarter of the respondents in that poll said it would be Justin Trudeau. And he said none of them, well, I should say that a quarter of them respondents said neither of the two men are up for the job.
Musk
so,
paid off illegals. Well, he didn't pay off illegals, but he did pay off actual voters, which is technically in court right now.
Heather, is that
I almost forgot about all that.
To an election of our own in the next
Jesus
year,
Christ.
I think you now have to put that question you raise as perhaps a front burner consideration for Canadian voters. If this is the relationship that's more important than almost anything else,
for fuck's sake,
would be best to be at the wheel.
Was he a new baseball pitcher?
What could be another very chaotic
Seriously.
4 years of the second Trump administration. I think, though, in the hallways of Parliament Hill, the tone initially, anyway, is going to be keep calm and carry on, because this is really the message that the Liberals started delivering to Canadians even on Monday before we even knew what was going to happen. You think about what Chrystia Freeland has come out and wanted to reassure people on, this idea that they have maintained relationships with people on both sides of the aisle in Washington. Of course, the Republicans in those Rolodexes just go right to the top of the pile. But she personally has maintained a relationship with Bob Lighthizer. They've let it be known that she was dining with him earlier this year, for example. Personal ties, personal history in that NAFTA renegotiation a few years ago. But Lighthizer expected to be kind of the czar of the economic agenda going forward for another Trump presidency. And
so yeah, what do we have? We have RFK, who's going to be now. He said he was going to be in charge of the NIH, the CDC,
the
HHS,
foreign ministers will continue to
the USDA. Elon Musk is going to have a supposed government efficiency. He's going to be a government efficiency czar. A man with billions of dollars with the U.S. government and business, as well as multiple legal cases before courts, federal courts, local courts.
Because they're using not so much the language of friendship, but more of tactics. Watch.
Less of a government and more of a oligarchy.
To the strategic partner that they need.
Because I don't think any of the last Donald Trump, JD Vance, Donald Trump, JD Vance, RFK, and Elon Musk, none of them, I think, have net worths less than $100 million, certainly within their families. And then, I mean, really, that's just RFK's on the low end. Everybody else is for fuck's sake.
And we know that the industrial policy is going to be all about China bringing jobs back to America, notwithstanding what any of those.
You think Elon bust millions of illegals over the border to vote for Trump?
To the North American economy of putting that kind of friction back in place. When trade wars escalate,
millions at a rate no one has ever seen before.
But weaponized uncertainty is Donald Trump's superpower. That is where his leverage comes from.
I think the administration is going to use the possibility of a USMCA renegotiation to weaponize any of these issues and to sort of put negotiating partners on the back foot.
So that was Todd Tucker. He is Director of Industrial Policy and Trade with Roosevelt Forward in Washington, D.C. And yes, he is warning that Canada should expect a hostile reaction if it isn't prepared to get in line with what the Trump administration wants. So this is the new reality Ottawa wakes up to today, and we will see how they auditioned for the job of being the ones to respond to it.
Thank you, Janice. Janice McGregor with more on the Canadian perception of all of this. Janice is in Ottawa, of course. Donald Trump has thumbed his nose at the establishment, has reshaped the Republican Party in his own image, and further polarized an already divided country. Our chief correspondent, Adrian Arsenault, this morning takes a look at the campaign that brought us to this moment.
Donald Trump began his campaign with baggage. Twice impeached, recently convicted on criminal charges in New York. And still, the former president shut out any serious challengers for the Republican nomination. At first, it looked like a rematch against President
We
Joe
can play that
Biden.
game. Ballots stuffed into boxes that nobody knows anything about. In trucks. In trucks and garbage bags.
Everything we have to do with.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
And Trump certainly
And I said,
nudged up in
that's
the polls when
not okay.
Biden botched the debate. Then a shock. July 13th in Pennsylvania, a gunman fired at Donald Trump, killing a rally attendee and wounding Trump's right ear. Trump was defiant. His immediate reaction resulted in a political image for the ages. Just over a week later, another surprise.
So now we have a new victim to defeat. Lion Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Have fun.
Kamala Harris raised the stakes.
You're going to hear from the same old tired playbook. A bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling.
Polls consistently said the race looked like a toss-up. Then on a golf course in Florida where the former president was playing, a man seemingly planning another assassination attempt was arrested with an assault rifle. Undeterred, Trump returned to the site of the first attempt on his life in Pennsylvania.
On this very ground, a cold-blooded assassin aimed to silence me.
Donald Trump pushing the promise he is tougher on crime, on the border, better on the economy, and destined to be in the White House again.
I'd like to begin by asking a very simple question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
And that closing argument seemed to be the one that convinced voters, because the economy, we know from the exit polling so far, was really what drove voters out and why the majority voted for Donald Trump. He has won the popular vote as well as winning the Electoral College. He will be the President of the United States with Inauguration Day on January the 20th. Let's take you next to North Dakota. Now, that's a state that was never in doubt. It's deep red, and it's a border state. It overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump. Ian Fraze has been there to cover the election for us. He's in Fargo, North Dakota. Ian, speaking to you yesterday on voting day, I'm really interested to know about the voters to whom you've been speaking this morning with Donald Trump victorious. What is their reaction? How did he connect with the voters there?
Good morning, Heather. People here are happy. This is North Dakota, a small Midwestern state with a population of around 780,000 people, around the size of Winnipeg, and they often feel forgotten about, like the rest of the United States doesn't care about them. And they don't feel that's right. They feel North Dakota has a lot going for it. Here in downtown Fargo, where I am, it's a beautiful place. The state itself is a major agricultural hub and a major energy producer. And they want to be respected as such. I spoke to a political scientist who says that, you know, people here feel the Republican Party, and now Donald Trump is their defender, someone who can protect their rural way of life. And that's why they keep voting for Republicans again and again. I was at an election party last night with Republicans where I spoke to a Trump supporter, Ken Tanner. He and others acknowledged that, hey, Trump's inflammatory rhetoric isn't for everyone, but they like his policies. And more people in North Dakota are willing to admit that, hey, they like the guy. Take a listen.
People are getting braver. Trump supporters are getting braver and braver and braver. Used to be you had to kind of like hold your head down for someone was going to hit you with something, but not so much anymore. Everybody's getting braver.
So overall, from him and others, it's more about the policies rather than the person. And, you know, if he can, you know, protect North Dakotans' way of life, that will be go a long way for people here. Something else interesting, Heather, that was on the ballot, a question of legalizing recreational cannabis. That ballot measure, though, was narrowly defeated by 52% of voters. So recreational cannabis will not be an option, or will continue to not be an option here in North Dakota. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Ian. I appreciate the reporting these past couple of days. Ian Fraze is in North Dakota, a solid red state, and celebrating the re-election of Donald Trump, set to become the 47th president and making history in doing so. First time in 120, 130 years since Grover Cleveland that a president has been re-elected to office after losing the previous election. And let's look at the reaction to that fact from someone you met on our program just a few days ago. Jeff Charlotte is a professor of writing and the author of the influential book called The Undertow: Scenes from a Slow Civil War. He's in Hanover, New Hampshire. Professor Charlotte spent months in Trump rallies and talking to Trump supporters, trying to get a sense and conveying a sense to readers of what his support looks like and its makeup, and we've spoken to him about that. So the perfect person to whom I want to speak this morning. Professor, welcome back to our program.
Hi, good morning, Heather.
Listen, it's good of you to give us some time. I know you've been up most of the night watching the results. Let me get your overall reaction to what has happened.
I think this is obviously a decisive victory. I think a lot of non-Trump supporters in the United States now are struggling and looking. Maybe it was rain in Wisconsin, or
I'm back.
Maybe it was this.
Sorry about that.
Delay. The fact that we're not exactly a polarized nation now.
Need a quick break. I figured I would leave you with something to watch. Fucking hell. 8:30. I woke up at such a weird time. I guess I could just keep fucking going.
So I
hate being the stream to break it to everybody. This is what's happening. But it kind of feels like that is almost what's going on.
He spoke in his victory speech, Professor, a lot about the movement that's led him to reclaim the
stream's already
presidency.
gotten like 50,000 views.
The movement is not just submersive in the
certainly not
shadows
sticking
now. He
around
won
for
the
more
popular
views.
vote. What is the state of the movement now in 2024?
Is there a slow civil war going on right now?
What I've been describing as the undertow, that the forces that bring us Trump have been with us for a while, building strength.
Interesting question.
Maybe some
Interesting question, my dogs.
To what begins as a dissatisfaction, a response to economic
I don't think I have
issues,
answers to
maybe
that at this
misogyny,
time.
Curdles and becomes what is a fascist movement. So if you just go on Twitter this morning and you're seeing big right-wing accounts.
Yeah, I thought I said that I was walking away,
about the
but maybe
deportations.
nobody.
Let's get
Maybe
started.
nobody heard
People
that.
saying, where do I sign up? I want to be part of the force. An enthusiasm for vigilantism, for violence. Trump didn't win by tacking to the center. He made it very, very clearer than it had ever been, who he was. And that's what a lot of people voted for.
So you just used the word fascist, as we did in our previous conversation. His own longest-serving chief of staff said, in his estimation, Donald Trump met his definition and the threshold to be called a fascist. And the United States people have just elected someone that many in the world think.
Oh, that's the name of this guy. I didn't even see it. I'm sorry, because I was in the bathroom.
What does that say?
So, yeah, I missed that.
It says that I think it's
was
worth
focused on other
recognizing it's what's happening in the United States, and for Canadian viewers, this is a global fascist movement. We see this turn toward various forms of right-wing authoritarianism, not just in the United States, but in the various other countries. You know, the Trump of Brazil, the Trump of these various countries, and you have your own right-wing movement. I think we have to understand the right word turn that Trump is a part of, the wave that he is riding, as a response to a lot of fear and a retreat into the strongman politics more familiar to us from the 20th century.
So at this point, once he's sworn in on January the 20th, what do you think his next administration will look like, and what concerns you most about it and the future direction?
I think we're in trouble. I think everybody's in trouble. I
No
think
kidding.
I mean, there's just if you read the 900-page document, Project 2025, which he sort of used like a yo-yo. It's not mine, except all my people are from that. The other documents, if you look at the departure of folks like that Chief of Staff General John Kelly, called him fascist. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, who called him a fascist. These are his own people. These are military people who are giving the definition. They're not going to be there this time. Men like Stephen Miller, the architect of his deportation policy, who said that we're no longer doing American first, we're doing Americans only. Men like Steve Bannon, who have trafficked in open World War II revisionism, appeal to actual fascist ideals. That's who's setting policy. And I think especially we saw last night Elon Musk. Poor J.D. Vance pushed to the side while Trump spoke for a long time about what he said, a star is born, Elon, and the crowd chanted for him, who I think we should now be looking as, in many ways, the second most powerful man in the world.
So as I listen to you, I'm just trying to sum up your tone. Sadness, shock, fear. What's
yeah, those are
an academic.
Those are Jesus Christ.
Sadness. I'm a parent. I'm a resident of Earth. We're going to see
this music makes this whole situation all the more sort of, what is it, Kafka? I'm not even sure that's the right word for this.
That's gone. Just, now we're thinking about how do we live and world climate change. It's going to be much, much fiercer. I don't think so.
God.
And I think I don't want to. I can't say I told you so because there was a whole lot of us who were speaking about this. There has been scholars and journalists and organizers and activists.
I thought I was going to wake up and there was going to be a very
this is a fascist movement.
Close race. Remember when everybody was saying it was going to be the closest race in history?
It's the United States in 2024.
I remember. Because it was like 24 hours ago.
And vibes and calling him weird, that wasn't enough.
But even bringing that issue to the fore, the threat to democracy, that seemed to be totally...
The music is killing you, but
not nearly as
the theme of this
401k,
stream
jobs,
is
their own gas and
Wagner.
What are they paying for that?
We're listening to Wagner all stream
401k,
beneath
jobs,
the news,
the price of gas, that
in order to remind us of what we're heading towards
not to say
now.
Democracy as an abstraction. What Trump did very effectively was give people metaphors to understand their lives. You're afraid that you can't find housing. Maybe you're afraid because of big storms, and you're afraid because there's flooding. So what does he say? He says it's immigrants. Immigrants are the reason you can't find housing. And you don't understand all these complex systems because you've got another job. You've got a regular job. You're not an economist. So that story makes sense. To his metaphors, we need to now respond with concrete,
and I mean, thankfully, Wagner's catalog is just extensive, so we could do it all day. We wouldn't run out.
That is democracy.
Music.
These are not.
Sorry to disappoint
you. These
you.
are not alternatives. That's the work of democracy.
I feel bad.
Our second worst president in American history, James Buchanan, 1856 to 1860, the man who led into the Civil War. But he had one great line when listening to those who were saying he should quell.
Because if you're not aware, Wagner
he should stop them from talking. He said,
was actually Hitler's favorite composer.
Democracy needs to be noisy. It needs to be filled with ideas. And I hope we will be noisy and loud now.
And I hope I can share
somebody
your ideas
who,
with our viewers
according
in
to Donald Trump's
Professor,
ex-wife,
Donald
Trump himself was actually quite
Charlotte, the author of The Undertow,
what was the word?
Slow Civil War on CBC Morning.
Well, he sought to emulate, I guess you might say. Had an entire book of Hitler's speeches on his bedside, I believe. What are they called again?
The mandate that he will take with him into the White House.
What's the point of knowing things if you forget them?
The popular vote for the first time. Returns are pointing to him sweeping all 7 battleground states, and it looks like he'll come to control or have full control over the U.S. government.
Total garbage BS. Trump is not a fascist. Quit crying that BS. Wow. Hilarious. Yeah, it's funny for you to claim that because Donald Trump is the guy who said he was going to set the military on Americans. He was going to be dictator on day 1 and has what can only be described as a fascist playbook waiting to go. That being Project 2025.
So
I don't know if you've heard of it.
That is the case, but still they've won and flipped back the Senate. As to the House of Representatives, right now it appears Republicans are on track to hold their bare majority in the House. So if he has both the House and the Senate, it will make it easier for a Trump administration to pass legislation. And let's bring in Karen Pauls from Washington with that part of the story. If both the House and the Senate are Republican, what does that mean in effect, Karen, for Trump and his agenda?
You know, Heather, this is an enormous advantage to the president-elect. As you said, Congress is the main lawmaking body of the U.S. The House can initiate budget bills and proceedings to impeach a president. The Senate has the power to confirm presidential appointees, including Supreme Court justices. A complete united Republican government would give Donald Trump untethered power to pursue his priority policies, which is why he celebrated that in his speech a few hours ago.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow. The Senate races in Montana, Nevada, Texas, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, were all won by the MAGA movement. You have some great senators and some great new senators, and it also looks like we'll be keeping control of the House of Representatives.
Now, if that happens, it's sweeping power.
Can't even blame the Electoral College this time? No, it cannot be blamed.
Overhauling the federal government. He's already said.
I thought we'd have days of talking about electoral stuff, essentially, but it doesn't seem like it. I mean, we'll certainly be talking about this, but not in the same way I thought.
Republicans could also enact a nationwide ban on abortion and commit significant money to Trump's promise of deporting millions of undocumented migrants. And on the issue of the Supreme Court, Trump could have an opportunity to appoint 2 more justices, which would increase his influence over the courts and cement the conservative leaning of the court for decades. And he can also roll back many of the programs of the last 4 years under Democratic rule, turn his campaign promises into action, and leave a lasting mark on the country. Heather, control of the House of Representatives is still not a done deal, like you said, because there are still so many close races. It could take days or even a week to call it, but if the Democrats want to slow Trump's agenda, they'll likely have to persuade other Republicans to oppose him.
Karen, thank you very much. Karen Poles from our bureau in Washington, as we look at the legislative branch as well, looks to be under total Republican control. We'll bring you the final numbers as the House of Representatives determines as the count continues. Pennsylvania is where we turn our focus next, the biggest of those 7 battleground states. 19 electoral college votes, and many expected the count would take some time. But the call, in fact, came early this morning. Pennsylvania had fallen for Donald Trump. Let's look at the current results. Nearly 97% of the ballots counted have come in now, and Donald Trump has won more than 3.4 million votes. So that translates into almost 51%. Kamala Harris is about 156,000 votes behind, 48%. So that means that the state of Pennsylvania went to Donald Trump, and with it, the 19 electoral college votes. Our next location, rather appropriate as
saw
we
this
talk
whole
about
thing
the
wrong.
future
We live in a
of
bubble.
America and American
I don't know if
democracy.
we
Steve Futterman is
saw
right
this
in front
whole
of
thing wrong.
Independence
I mean,
Hall, where it all began, where the founders
if you were
gathered for
watching
the
this
Declaration
channel,
of
we
Independence
were
and the US
pleading for a
Constitution
number
to
of
propose and
things
sign that.
to
A city
happen
where
in a
Kamala
way.
Harris held
I
her
mean, at some
final
point, I just kind
rally
of
of
gave
the
up on it,
campaign
but
with
I
a
mean,
big
for quite a while,
freedom.
we were going over it.
Steve,
And
good morning.
12
I'm
days
glad
ago, I
to
put
have
out a
you as part
video
of our
saying,
coverage today because
you know,
Pennsylvania, would it be the
that this
tipping
was
point?
essentially
Ended up being
headed this way.
Wisconsin.
Donald Trump was
But what
in the
happened in
lead 12 days ago.
Pennsylvania?
And for a short period of time, Kamala had a more salient path to victory for like a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe. Since I posted that first video, since I not first video, but I posted that video 12 days ago, the margins improved for Kamala, but as you can see, that did not even come to pass in any way, not even close to what we were looking at in terms of like where it was at on election day, right? Because what we were looking at election day was Kamala winning with multiple paths to victory, with Iowa supposedly being in the equation, but that fell pretty early on.
In other words, people who are making last-minute decisions are going more for Kamala Harris, and they were right. The problem was, as the exit polls showed, that very few, relatively few people.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
10% had made
like
their
personally
decisions in the final
attack
week.
you.
They
It was
made
not
their
in
decisions
any
long
way
before.
intended to be
So
like
things
that.
that Donald Trump
I was
talks
just
about in
sort
the
of
final
riffing off of things that I saw in here because that's how I do.
And we also have to talk about, I think,
And yeah, I mean the fact is the media was kind of living in something of a bubble. I think everybody was trying to be positive about a situation that kept deteriorating, at least in front of my eyes. Like directly after, in September 10th, which was the day of the debate, you know, Kamala was up nationally like 3 points. A week later, she was up 4.5 points with like a dozen paths to victory. And in that time, no second debate, and no pivoting from Joe Biden. And we watched these statistics just tumble. And I had been saying it, that she needed to embrace the more activist base. She needed to take some sort of stance. She needed to pivot from Joe Biden because of how fucking unpopular he is with a 40% popularity rating right now. But none of that ever happened. None of it ever came to fruition. And instead, the worst. The thing I didn't want to happen, which is why I posted that video on the 12th. Hopefully, I don't know, wait, the 12 people who subscribe. I have more people than that, but whatever. People subscribe to this channel.
For you, but let me ask you, I haven't
what the
talked to
fuck was
anybody
about
who
to
worked in a
potentially
poll this
happen.
morning. Everything
And
go okay? Smoothly?
the
There were bomb
fucking
threats
crazy
in
thing
certain
is the
spots, but how
electoral
did
map
things go
that
in
I
your
had
poll?
worked out 12 days
I
ago
saw that. I'm in Northeast
had
Philadelphia,
Trump
and
winning
we
by
didn't have that kind of threat
almost the
like they did
exact
in
same
some of the
numbers.
Center City
You had
minority areas in the Hispanic
381
area,
in my
and,
count. Right now it's at
I didn't have that in the
377.
Northeast. I have a polling place that
Right, she needed to move to the left, and instead of moving to the left,
went
instead of
well.
embracing more
The turnout
popular
was
opinions
great. I have
and
about
things like
600
that,
registered
things
voters
that
in the
activists and other
division,
people
and I
get
live in the
behind
same
and get
division,
riled up
and I
for,
run that polling place.
she embraced people like Liz
Counting
Cheney
the mail-in ballots,
and Bill
probably
Clinton,
about 500 of the 600 showed
Hillary
up,
Clinton.
either by mail or in person.
And
Okay, so
they're not the best
that
people
went
for
smoothly, and the outcome
you know,
was what you'd hoped.
making
Not so in the
the
actual
case for
election. Let's
change,
swing to
making the
that.
case for
Take me
progress.
through last night.
And many of us were
As you
critical
watched
of
what
this
was
at the time,
happening, and what were you experiencing as you watched the numbers come in and then watched
but continued to
Donald
hope
Trump
that she would find a message that
oh gosh, I was
resonated,
experiencing a lot of emotions going. I mean, I
that would get people out there to vote. But clearly, that 16 million less than 2020. And it's not like the voting base got smaller.
White House, and so it's a more profound disappointment in my fellow countrymen. I can't believe where we are today. I think for them it wasn't so much existential about our government, our democracy. It was more about inflation and immigration. The things that he hammered over and over again seemed to resonate with a lot of people. It's almost like he says exactly what these disaffected and alienated and people who are tired of both parties want to hear, whether it's true or not. And in my view, it's everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. So people are but it's exactly what people want to hear.
But it's interesting, from the Democratic side of things, often you heard from Kamala Harris, this is not who we are. But he won the popular vote. So it is who the majority of Americans are.
Yeah,
of course, nobody likes Liz. Who likes Liz Cheney?
If it had been the reverse, there would be all kinds of challenges. I don't expect to see that. If he won the popular vote,
she lost her seat for a reason. In what was it, Wyoming? Right? I mean, she lost her seat to a literal nobody, to like somebody with. I mean, we talked about that. I mean, nobody likes Liz Cheney.
And now it's creeping into power. The Supreme Court.
Whoever said that was the plan.
Now it's taken over
let's win over the 7 disaffected Trump voters. The
right-wing movement, and
Liz Cheney crowd.
I mean, this is the way it's happened 100 years ago in Europe. And
people who are like, we like war crimes, but we don't like racism. It's like, okay, you're really splitting. It's really splitting here in terms of who you're shooting for.
Political science.
Not sure how big that group is.
It's so disheartening, especially number one, I've been involved with Latino outreach for a long time, and now went from 20 years ago being like the face of Hispanic Republican outreach in Pennsylvania, and now I was the face of Republican voters against Trump, and it wasn't me that changed. And so the party's changed dramatically. That, like I said, I don't even call it a party anymore. I call it a movement, a far-right, ultra-nationalist movement, and it's taking over. The Supreme Court, the U.S. Senate, and if I haven't seen the latest numbers on control of the House yet this morning, but if they
It's
control
leading
the
there.
House,
The Republicans are leading there as well. They'll have control, it looks like, of both sides of both houses of Congress. So I'm curious, I have a couple of things. Number one, where then is your political home now?
Well, it's like the leftover. I would say I'm still a Liz Cheney Republican, so I'm going to be left over here and sort of ushered out of the side. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm still Republican, and I would call myself a Liz Cheney Republican.
Okay.
And I don't have so in other words, I don't really have a political home. Adam Kinzinger, these people were all and Liz Cheney were all removed from office systematically. Any opposition within the Republican Party seemed to be systematically removed, and that's what I'm seeing now.
Let me ask you finally, I'd love to continue this on, but we're just about to the end of our hour. So I want to ask about you personally, because one of the things so striking in your story, you said your partner, your spouse, different.
Are you crying? Because I suggested that people who are okay with people who say racist things are also racist. Oh, does that make you sad? Oh, no, you should go cry about it.
Where are you as a family today?
Well, we haven't talked about it yet, but I know that I mean, we'll be surviving as a family and all, but I haven't spoken to my parents. I mean, my wife and I haven't spoken about it, but we'll move on. And yesterday she came to vote at the place where I vote as well, and where I was in charge of the polls, and we just canceled each other's vote out, and we laughed about it. So we should be fine. I don't know about how my parents are, but I guess they'll be fine too, because they got the result that they wanted, So,
they're Trump supporters, right?
Oh yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. Fox News, addicted to Fox News. Mine is like my parents are in a cult, addicted to Fox News. My wife's a little more open-minded, so she at least isn't in that cult that my parents are. Okay. I mean, my parents.
Robert, again, thank you for coming back on our program. I really have appreciated reconnecting with you. Wish you the best for your family as you navigate that, and as you navigate this uncertain future as you see it. I thank you for bringing your perspective to us.
Thank you for those wishes, and wish not just for me but for our country. Wish the best. I'll pray and hope up there in Canada.
Robert Nix in Pennsylvania. Thanks again. From
Let
Pennsylvania.
me read this statement. No, I'm just explaining why he won, comma, does it make you sad that he won and you'll clearly never understand why?
That was a real
Question mark? Low IQ loser, upside down smiley face.
16 electoral college votes from North Carolina.
You seem really smart.
Won them handily with 51%.
I'm glad you're in the
vote,
chat.
And that's nearly 2 points higher than when he won the state back in 2020. More than 190,000 votes more than Kamala Harris had on the day. And Katie Nicholson was covering the North Carolina story. She's live with me in Charlotte. Tell us what happened in North Carolina.
Can you explain to me why 20 million less people voted in 2024 than in 2020?
Right across the country.
Well, Heather, North Carolina is really the American story in a nutshell. We saw that hardening division between urban and rural areas. In the numbers last night, there were rural counties where Biden had made inroads in 2020 that flipped back to Trump. I'm thinking of Nash County, which Biden took by a very tiny margin, 50 to about 100 votes back in 2020. That is squarely a Trump by a double margin there. It is now a Republican county. And I think this really speaks as well to the failure of the Democrat messaging in and around the rural counties on things like the economy, things that we kept hearing that the Democrats insisting this is, America does have a very strong economy, but that's not what people were feeling at home, buying groceries, with inflation, that sort of thing. So there's that. There's also immigration. We heard a lot of fears around immigration, particularly fears that were stoked around this election that undocumented individuals, undocumented citizens aliens or undocumented immigrants might be voting, which of course is illegal. They even had a special measure that was voted on as a part of this election, which some saw as a bit of a dog whistle that wasn't necessary because it's already illegal. But that also sort of increased that hardening line. We saw the Democrats fail to get out and reach out to black male voters, and also they didn't, that Latino vote that they were hoping to really swing in also didn't quite materialize, even in the urban areas like Mecklenburg County where we are.
Oh, that's easy. You couldn't fake it this time.
There are a couple of other things at play here.
So you're still contesting the previous election, but you accept this one. It's hilarious.
Those were already robust.
As if it would be harder
but some of the things that
for Democrats to steal an election when they're in power than when they're out of power. You see the problem with your logic there, big wrinkle brain?
The federal response was not robust enough. Now, that's despite the Democrat governor here saying absolutely it was, and we heard from people that how thankful they were. But there was this misinformation around that FEMA had failed a lot of people, and a lot of people believed that, and that sort of galvanized them to vote. Just as many people who felt that FEMA helped them were also incentivized to vote.
Whoopsie, somebody just got a hidden over there.
This idea that there might be conscription introduced because if there's a Democrat in the White House, that means that America is going to go to war. These are all these types of threads that we were hearing from mostly rural voters. So that it also speaks, again, to a failure in Democrat messaging, but also just how entrenched a lot of the GOP counties are. I will say, though, this is still a purple state because there is, by double digits, a new Democratic governor who has been elected. That's Josh Stein. So, it again, a very strange mix here, but one that the Democrats failed to seize on any kind of momentum this time around and really failed a lot in their messaging to break through to those rural areas.
Katie, I appreciate your reporting as well these days of the campaign. Thank you. Katie Nicholson with the story from North Carolina and what it portended for the rest of the country. So we've talked about the executive branch with Donald Trump and the legislative branch with Congress, the House and the Senate, looking both to return to Republican control. Let's talk about the judicial branch. The Supreme Court is already under transformation. In Trump's first administration, he appointed 3 justices, establishing the conservative majority that ruled presidents have extraordinary immunity from federal law and overturned a women's constitutional right to abortion. I was speaking earlier this morning with law professor Lawrence Douglas. We often speak to him when we talk about the High Court, and particularly as it intersects with Donald Trump. And we looked at what a second Trump administration will mean to the highest court in the land.
Remember, so he would nominate justices to the Supreme Court. They have to be confirmed by the Senate. And one of the things that we also saw last night is the Republicans did recapture the Senate. So he could certainly use his nominating power to reshape the Supreme Court basically in a generational.
Yeah, this one didn't take 2 weeks. You're literally forgetting how it went. That's fine. I mean, alternate history is a good way to sort of
nominate judges to the entire federal judiciary.
Post and cope. I mean, cope and post, which is really weird to me because, you know, you just, I'm saying that you all won the election here. So for you to be coping right now about a previous election is very weird to me. Do you see why it would be weird to me?
His first term in president, into his first presidency, some of his federal judicial appointments were basically, you know, perfectly responsible jurists. Other of them, however, were really kind of out-of-line loyalists, and that is something we should all really be concerned about, the way he could completely reshape the federal judiciary from the bottom to the top.
That is Professor Lawrence Douglas. As we spoke earlier, he's in Massachusetts looking to the future of the Supreme Court. Now, as for the convicted January 6th insurrectionists, Trump has described them as political prisoners and says he will pardon them on his first day in office. So let us look, first of all, at the White House. If you're joining us again,
it's just weird to me that people such as yourself want to continue to try and rewrite history from 4 years ago.
And you can see 276
right now,
electoral college votes,
right? Because I mean, we can play the same game. We can play the same game right now. And remember, Democrats are in the White House, right? So
all of them, and
just
Republicans
saying.
in control of the Senate and look to be.
I don't agree with that, but I mean that's what you're essentially doing right now. You're still hanging on to something.
Ongoing reaction.
This is clearly nonsense.
President-elect Trump has anything to say as you look live at Florida on CBC Morning Live.
You asked LOL. I'm just that's your response? I mean, that's not a response what I just said, right? Because the opposite of what you're saying happened, right? Because Kamala was in the lead going into, I don't know, what was it, 10:30, right? And then it flipped. And then flipped. But no one here is claiming, oh, election fraud, ooh. Just you still. About an election from 4 years ago, by the way.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, November 6th. I'm Heather Hiscox. If you're just joining us, we are seeing history today. Donald Trump will be the next U.S. president. He has secured enough votes to win the White House this morning. Americans, Canadians, people all around the world are waking up to that breaking news and to Donald Trump's promise of profound change. Let us look at the numbers. Donald Trump with, right now, 276 Electoral College votes. That's 6 more than the threshold necessary, the 270 he needs. But it does appear he's on path for a bigger victory. He himself has said he expects around 315. Now, it turns out Wisconsin is the tipping point state, making Trump the winner so far of 4 of the 7 battlegrounds. He also has North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. We are awaiting returns from Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada, but he's poised to sweep them all, something he wasn't able to do in 2016. And he's winning the popular vote as well, which he also didn't do. The call from CBC News and from major U.S. media outlets came this morning at 5:34 a.m. Eastern. By that time, Donald Trump had already declared himself the winner.
Okay. Well, we've gone for like 3 hours.
Trump appearing triumphant as he walked
Feels
out to
like
his
a good
election
time
night
to
party. He will become
take a
the leader
break
of the
at the
world's
very
most
least.
powerful nation for
So,
a second time.
let's
He's the
think.
first former president in the modern era to be
we'll
elected
go-
again after losing an election. Trump's history-making political comeback is marked by a breakthrough in voter support. He appears to have won the popular vote for the very first time. There are
I might actually
other
end the
firsts
show.
as well.
It's so,
He
like,
will be the first
so fucking late.
twice impeached
I feel like we've already
president to be
covered
reelected.
everything that
He
needs
will
to be
the
covered
first
at this
person
time until
convicted in a criminal court and found
I
liable
don't know
in
until I
civil
figure
court to be elected.
anything else
and
out.
he is
I'm gonna
still
have to,
facing
you know.
federal charges in the attempt to overturn the 2020 election and the January 6th attack on Congress, the very seat of American democracy.
Until anything else comes out, I don't know what else is left to say about this.
His mandate appears stronger than his first one from 2016. He'll be governing with a wider coalition of Americans who voted for his pledge of prosperity and deep tax cuts.
We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every...
I'll probably be doing another live stream tonight. What is it, Wednesday?
I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe,
Let me
and
think.
prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will...
Yeah, sometime later today, I'll do another live stream. Pretty sure. And, yeah. I mean, I hope everybody has a good day from here on, but this is, the direction of our country.
tonight when you think. I mean, I was looking at it, I was watching it. They had some great analysis of the people that voted for us. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. They came from all quarters, union, non-union, African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, Arab American, Muslim American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment, uniting citizens of all backgrounds around a common core of common sense. You know, we're the party of common sense.
That is part of Donald Trump's victory speech early.
Can't forget this. These are your galactic patrons. Thanks to these people here, you just got to enjoy this stream, both your eyes and ears. You can too. For just a few US dollars a month on Patreon.